Hello there. Today we're going to be painting Commander Obi Wan Kenobi for Star Wars Legion in the style of the box art. Obi Wan Kenobi obviously comes with the Clone Wars core box starter set. So once you've dug through all the boxes, you'll need to actually find him in a little plastic bag. So go ahead, put him together, and give him a good old prime. I just use a rattle can or a spray paint can, depending on where you are in the world. Okay, so for most people, you can actually find Obi-Wan Kenobi in the core box. I actually found this model in a secondhand model shop in Adelaide. I picked him up alongside Anakin. So because I've done that, I'm actually going to use Obi-Wan's body from the core box with Anakin's head, and I'm going to make a custom Anakin Skywalker that's coming up in a future video. But today, just painting what you would normally get in your core box. So this one's actually already been slightly started. There's a little bit of black paint on his undergarb, and there's also a little bit of light brown paint on his upper garb as well. But we're just going to go straight from that. So I'd say that pretty much the first things you want to do, just add some black onto the legs and also the undershirt, and add some brown along the shade of maybe Ushbati stone, something like that, on the upper garb. So let's start with the actual painting. So the first thing you want to do is just start blocking in Ushbati stone on the cloth and black armor for the undersuit. Once you get that done, you'll start to kind of take shape. This model isn't the hardest to paint. It's quite simple in terms of color theory, things like that. So after you've done that, continue to black out the hands and in between the armor. You kind of want to make a nice silhouette for in between the armor. Alright, so once that's done, use Kislev flesh on his face area. This is the only actually exposed skin on the model. And then use Agrex Earthshade to make some shadows on his outfit. Following that, Reichland Flesh Shade over his face and neck. This will give him some nice shadows and a bit more depth. The mold of his face is actually quite good compared to our last painting video of Luke Skywalker. They kind of upped the mold a little bit. Following that, using Lead Belcher, just block in the lightsaber hilt and put some brown on his belt. I used Blood Reaver Flesh myself, but any type of brown will do. And you just want to make sure not to get any silver on the actual blade itself. That way it kind of looks a bit more neat. Personally, I wasn't very happy with the armor, so I actually used Black Templar contrast paint, and I just put it in between the armor pieces and then brought the face shade back up a bit with Ushbati stone, aka just a light flesh tone. This will kind of make it look a little bit more legible. So now we're going to knock out the hair. So using half XV88 and half Lugganath orange, you just want to go for a good coat over his head, over his mustache, and over his beard itself. My hair for Obi ended up looking a bit closer to the actual animation than the actual film, so feel free to use more brown than orange if the shade comes up a little bit wrong. Screaming Skull for the folds in the cloth, and Holy White speed paint over the armor pieces. You'll find that the white for Holy White is actually more grey, but we're going to add some white to the armor in the next step to kind of bring that all up. So don't worry if it's looking a little bit wrong at the moment. I use Korax white on the armor and then also on the lightsaber blade. So feel free to use white sparingly to make the armor have some more shadows. You don't want to just block in the whole thing because it will take away the depth that we used on the grey paint earlier. Using the same color as the Luke Skywalker video, we use Baharoth light blue for the lightsaber. And then I just added some Astro Granite for the ground. Couldn't really think of any other good things for the base, so this will do for now until I figure out whatever my Republic army art will have for their bases. It's really up to you if you want to make all your bases uniform, but I definitely do recommend it because it'll just make the army look a lot more uniform. So following this, I just watered down some XV88 for the hair, as the hair color was still not super accurate. And then I used some black for the base rim. I think black for all base rims look the best, but it's totally up to you what color you want to paint that. So the cloth color I wasn't too happy with, so I ended up actually mixing XV88 and the green Ogren camo, and I just blocked in a whole bunch of pieces on the arm and kind of make it all look a bit more like it actually does in the movie. Leave the raised lighter areas, that way it's kind of looking a bit more like fold. Alright, so now we're going to take a bit of a moment to break down the unit itself and talk about what Obi Wan Kenobi's strengths and weaknesses are for Star Wars Legion. For this review, I've actually called a great friend of mine. He is my resident Republic player, so he gave me all the info he could about our last matches and what he thinks Obi-Wan's great for. So his knowledge is present over mine, but we're going to get straight into it. So Obi Wan Kenobi is very balanced. He hasn't had actually many changes at all to his unit, and he is very beginner friendly. He plays more like a tank than an outright offensive role, and he's great at defending other team members. Now, he's good for a big squad of many units, and he also loves to be close to those other units. He's very, very vulnerable by himself, and he's also lacking a lot of power. The one thing you got to realize as well for Obi-Wan is he is actually now 170 points down from 175, which is on his unit card, which means that he is 5 points less, so you can give him a nice upgrade, or you can maybe even bring a different unit. Gives him a little bit more versatility in terms of list building. So let's look at his command cards. For the 3-pip, we have General Kenobi. When Obi-Wan Kenobi issues an order to a unit, that unit gains 1 surge token for each other friendly unit at range 1 of it. This really does kind of push Obi-Wan Kenobi. Really wants to be close to all of his other units, and you want to have them all packed into a tight formation. So it's actually great when surrounded by friendlies, as previously discussed. However, it's not a very aggressive card, and it's also very dependent on your matchup as well. This one actually pairs great with Anakin. However, of course, you don't need to run both of them. Anakin might be a purchase down the line. I feel like if you're going to be playing the Republic faction, you probably do like Anakin, so you might add him to the list. But this is a pretty good command card. Now we have his 2-pip, which is Knowledge and Defense. Obi-Wan Kenobi gains 1 dodge token for each other friendly trooper unit at range 1. Obi-Wan Kenobi can use Guardian during a melee attack, which is great. Now, this is actually great when surrounded and can take a bit of heat. It's also very clutch when opponents want to put the pressure on. This is a great reactionary card. Now, his last command card is his 1-pip Hello There, which he obviously says in episode 3. Now, Obi-Wan Kenobi gains Nimble at the start of the activation phase. Obi-Wan Kenobi gains 1 aim, 1 dodge, 1 standby, or 1 surge token for each enemy unit at range 1 to 2. So this isn't really the best command card. You do get a lot of versatility in terms of what token you want to take, being that you can take a dodge, a standby, a surge, an aim. It's really good. However, if you're actually using this card and you get a ton of tokens, you're already overrun anyway. Obi-Wan Kenobi only has 6 health, so if he is this close to a whole bunch of enemy units, it's probably not looking too good for him anyway. Now, my trusted advisor actually said that this 1-pip is probably worse than the others, as it's very selfish, and Obi-Wan tends to stick pretty close to other units. This actually gets better towards the end of the battle as well, and can be pretty clutch and nice. You have the flexibility. He did actually say that he would leave this one out if he was building a deck with many command card options. So let's break down his unit card now. Starting from the top, he is 175 points. However, as discussed before, he's actually only 170 points. He does have 6 health. He has 3 courage and also a red defense dice. He's got 2 movement, which is great, but he does have no intrinsic surge to hit or surge to defend. So going through his unit keywords, he does have jump 1, which means that you can ignore any type of terrain at height 1 when making a move. He has charge, which is a great ability, can perform a free melee attack when ending your move action with the base touching with another unit. He has Guardian 3, which can cancel up to 3 confirmed hits on a unit at range 1 and in line of sight of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan then rolls up to 3 defense dice, depending on the amount of hits cancelled, and Obi takes damage for each blank die result after calculating surge defense. Guardian seems great, however, if you do roll 2 Guardian 3s and you get damage 3 times for each, that's Obi-Wan dead. So he's not actually the strongest character to be using all these tanks abilities, so that's kind of one of his downsides. He is immune to Pierce and has Master of the Force 1. At the end of the activation, you can ready 1 Force upgrade card that has been spent. This is a great card for every lightsaber unit. We've actually had a chat last time about Luke Skywalker. He actually doesn't have Master of the Force yet. I believe he does have Master of the Force in his operative form, But for his commander form, he doesn't have that. So that was one of his downfalls. And also, Obi-Wan has Surisu Mastery, which is if you spend a dodge token, that you gain a surge defense, and you also essentially gain deflecting damage back to the opponent for each surge rolled, which is great. You do need to actually have that dodge token. So maybe you're using Hello there, and you get that dodge token, but realistically, it's going to kind of be annoying to get that dodge token, and you're going to have to use an action. Now, Obi-Wan's lightsaber is a 2 red, 2 black, and 2 white affair with critical 2, impact 2, and pierce 2. This makes him pretty good. It's pretty consistently at least 2 to 3 damage per hit. Most lightsaber users have red attack dies, which is obviously a lot more consistent. Let's talk about some upgrades for Obi-Wan. Buddy of mine recommended Saber Throw for good range. So you also recommended Guardian and Force Lift. This synergizes great with Master of the Force. He recommended Force Barrier. It's great for synergy as playing Obi defensively is what he's good at. Offensive and defensive stance is a great way to get double dodge tokens when you use a dodge action. That kind of goes back to Surisu Mastery from before. And endurance is also good as he is a unit grabbing a lot of attacks and pushing up, drawing enemy fire, etc. Now, the only issue is that a lot of these upgrades don't actually come with the core box. So in terms of if you already have a lot of the other upgrades from the game, if you bought multiple boxes, if you maybe bought the upgrade card packs, those would what I would recommend. However, if you're only getting the core box and you only want to use what comes in the core box, here's some recommendations from me. Personally, I would recommend Tenacity. So while performing a melee attack, if you are wounded or if one or more of your minis have been defeated, add 1 red attack die to your attack pool. Now this gives Obi 3 red attack dies, and this is great. I honestly think this is a must bring. However, it has actually increased points from 4 points to 6 points. You got to kind of think about that when building your list. Next, I would recommend Force Reflexes. This is a great card, and you pretty much can expend this card to gain 1 dodge token. Now, if you do this, you can actually use Master of the Force to bring this card back at the end of your activation, and you can pretty much keep using Force Reflexes every activation with Obi, and this gives him guaranteed Surisu Mastery. This is a great strategy in my opinion. Next, I'm just going to say I do not recommend running aggressive tactics on him. First of all, it is now 15 points instead of the 10. And also, even though it gives out some surges, it's not worth it at the end of the day in my opinion. So next for actually the last 2 steps, I use Wazdaka, and you just want to do some free handing on the shoulder pad. So he's kind of got like a little Republic symbol, something like that. It's like a little, sword with 2 wings. So just do your best. It is actually on his unit card. And lastly, you just want to dot some whites where his eyes meant to be and dot tiny little black dots just for his eyeballs itself. And there you go. He's all painted up. You've got a completed Obi Wan Kenobi commander that's ready to bring your Republic army into battle. Well, hopefully now at the end of this video, you have found Obi Wan Kenobi. You have built him. You've given him a nice spray, you've given him a great coat of paint, and now you have a great understanding of how he works and how he's going to synergize with the rest of your Republic attack force. I really hope you do use him in your battles. I think he's great. Buddy of mine got the Republic side of the core box that we split, and I think I versed Obi-Wan in every single one of our battles. He is a great opponent. He didn't go down often. I think I've only killed him about twice. He is very strong. So he's easy to pick up to play. Pretty hard to master. But as long as you're playing defensively and backing up your team, you should go just fine. So thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a like. Let me know down below what you think about Obi Wan Kenobi. Maybe you think he's good. Maybe you think he's bad. Let's start a dialogue. That's awesome. And if you subscribe, you're going to get a lot more great Star Wars Legion content in the future. Next up, we're actually going to be looking at the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.